time I stepped through that door into this classroom. Most of the students had already arrived before me, so I ended up walking into a room filled with unfamiliar faces and anxiety. When I looked around, I saw the first-hand differences between this room and the traditional classroom, and I felt a completely new atmosphere. But then I began to question everything about my decision to participate in it. I never fully understood the program beforehand, and this new anxiety didn't help either. But I'm sure most of my fellow Propel students would say that you'll never fully understand how great this is unless you jump in for yourself. With that being said, it's fitting that I take us to the moment where I first felt the jump into this amazing program. On the Friday following that fearful first day, we had an amazing group excursion. As a class, we all walked to the Exchange District to do two things. One being to complete an escape room, and the other being to take a photo for our first blog post. Now to the average listener, this might not sound like much, but to me it meant everything. I didn't take 1 or 2 photos downtown, I took about 50, with each having a reason behind it. Even looking at the few on screen here reminds me of those joyful moments I had exploring the exchange with my new peers. Then it hit me. This was school, and I would get credits for this. Various moments that day had me thinking about how the next few months of the program would be, and I loved that train of thought. I love downtown, I love the program spirit, and I now love school. You could even say it was love at first sight. The following few weeks would be occupied with excursions to the zoo and the Forks, and tasks that I would never imagine being core parts of a high school program. In fact, 2 full weeks of school were dedicated to transforming this space into our own unique environment. A quick look around already presents some of the changes this group has made to this space, such as painting the walls in the other room. The gray ones used to be blue, or drawing on that chalkboard, or hanging those beautiful quotes up on the roof. All this hard work granted team building skills and gave us means to get to know each other. We all worked together to create an environment that suited this unique group and provide the ideal workspace for the creation of our projects. It was amazing. This brings me over to how I ended up using this space. For my project, I decided I wanted to hone my music production skills. In the past, I had started many projects involving 3D modeling, graphic design, game development, and more. But one thing that I never fully explored was my music production. I also tend to leave projects unfinished. Therefore, I decided to plan a project that I would be dedicated to finishing before deadline. This project would also involve most of my digital skill set, but the core of it would be music production. After many iterations of ideas and weeks of thought, the vision was born. Inspired by my hunger for a product I could be proud of, and my love for capturing ideas through art, I finally came up with a project. It would be dubbed Album Zero, as the precursor to all my future endeavors. It would consist of 10 ambient hip-hop instrumentals that would make use of the dynamics between emptiness and fullness. It would play for 28 minutes in total and become my most memorable project of 2016. Now, even if the end product does say a lot, the bumpy process of creating it was what taught me the most. It took a great amount of thinking to take Album Zero from a vague vision into a beautiful reality. Now, I decided that I wanted to create an album about balance. That's why I chose to include the yin-yang symbol in my branding. I eventually decided that the album would represent the balance between empty thoughts or feelings and full ones. Feelings of emptiness aren't always pleasant, but they make the times filled with many full thoughts and feelings that much more valuable. And this is a concept I've begun to embrace this year. With that being said, I decided to use space in my songs to represent this. The album would have 10 songs, but each would have a varied level of depth. Some beats would be sparse and others saturated. By that, I mean that the sparse beats would have simpler drums, subtle bass, and soundscapes centered around the mids and highs. But on the other hand, you have the saturated beats with more complex drum rhythms, in-your-face bass, and strong mids. The melodies in the saturated songs would also contain multiple layers as opposed to 1 or 2. Most of the songs find themselves floating somewhere between empty and full. But I made sure to create a track for each extremity, one very sparse and one very full. The concept seemed strange to me at first, but it ended up panning out perfectly, and it really helped me create songs that complemented each other, while still providing variety for the listener. Now, I can't play the whole album for you tonight, unfortunately, but what I can do is provide a little sample of it. It may not sound the same on these speakers, but I can still show you what I meant when it comes to the balance this album represents. I've taken short clips from 4 of the tracks and ordered them from sparse to full in this video. You can see the difference in the waveforms. This is the sound clips. You can see that these ones are thin and they get fuller as you progress, literally. you'll definitely hear the difference too. Listen for new drums, more bass, and deeper melody harmony combos as the tracks play. To listen to a more accurate version of these or the full album, I'll give you a link at the end of the presentation. The struggle was real. Though success would eventually come for Album 0, struggles were splattered everywhere in the semester. Initially, they came in simple forms. Some of my first ideas for the album were really hard to generate. But after I knew what I wanted to do and what kind of music I wanted to make, these problems were in the past. However, that leads me right into the next thing I had a hard time with. Knowing the results I wanted to have in the end wasn't enough to make them happen at first. Especially knowing the case of this project. I wanted Album 0 to have some tracks of a genre that I'd never produced before in my life. I envisioned songs that reminded one of those deep thoughts you'd have sitting in a loud school or those nice days in the park. But this kind of ambience isn't very popular in hip-hop, which meant that very few resources or tutorials existed that involved this genre. That meant I needed to find my own way to make my ideas sound good. And to be honest, I didn't think I could do it properly. But regardless, I started production and tried to create a soundscape I was proud enough to use in the album. It took me a good 2 weeks to find my groove, and I finally had created a track that I felt was suitable for the album. I finally had a foundation to work from, and at that time I was ecstatic about it. From this foundation, I started building and building, and it was only getting better and better. As my musical ideas got more and more complicated, I needed to teach myself more and more. But I managed and even excelled at this. And as a result, I have grown immensely as a producer. And I learned how to take the sounds from in my head into the computer with much greater ease. The biggest struggle of my semester, however, was creative halt that set me 2 weeks behind schedule in the latter half. I thought that the ideas I started with my first production run would have fueled me for the entire semester, but I was so wrong. I'd run out of ambition, inspiration, motivation, and ideas all at the same time, and it was dreadful. This particular struggle resonates with me especially because it came at a time when most of us were filled with excitement and drive to create. Our class theme was to go shred for that week. For those of you who don't know, every Monday morning we had a meeting and we displayed a rough schedule of what the week would look like, and we decided upon a theme for each week. That week we decided it was to go shred, meaning we were to let loose and focus on the creation of our projects. And it seemed this was what happened for many of us. And at the end of the week, we were assigned to write a blog post about what we shredded. But that didn't work well for me. I actually ended up writing a post about how I had been an uncreative dud for some time. And was ready for that to change. And it was very discouraging, given I had only fully finished half the album at that point. But I would later find that overcoming this struggle would become the catalyst for the biggest successes of the entire project. I'll just give you some time. following that blog post, I finally started getting some decent work done. I headed into that Monday with a head full of steam and anxiety, but those weren't the traits that got me going again. In the latter half of the week, it snowed heavily. I remember having a moment where everything got quiet and I focused on the snow, and I had a new source of inspiration. I stayed up until 5:30 a.m. that night on a school night, but instead of it being stress-related insomnia, it ended up being an immersive work session wherein I produced what at the time was my favorite production ever, Snowfall. I ended up spending 6 straight hours on my project before school even started that day. Talk about showing up early. Following that, I created this teaser video, and I officially chose the name Album Zero. I called it that because in class, the very first versions of assignments we would create would be called Draft Zero. But since this was an album and it was my first real project, Album Zero. After creating this teaser, it felt like I had a completely fresh start. Moving into the break, I worked more than I had for the last few weeks of school, and it felt amazing. I saw the album cover created, and 4 of the last 5 tracks started. They were all unique, and I saw the production of those final musical ideas very well, which was a huge success for me. By the second week after the break, the album was essentially finished, and I'm very proud of it. The songs ended up sounding even better when I put them together, and that's something I was really happy about. Most of my musical ideas came to fruition smoothly, which I was somewhat surprised by, but satisfied with as it goes to show how much I've learned. It runs for around 28 minutes, which was right what I was aiming for, given that the widely regarded minimum for a feature-length album is around 25 minutes. And since my album doesn't have vocals, it didn't need to run for too much longer than that. Fit right in there. I didn't mention it yet, but I also designed my own webpage for branding purposes, and I'm very happy with the way it looks and feels. All in all, there's very little, if anything, that I would change about my work this semester, and I'm very grateful for that. Many tales of success involved my progression in my project, but it doesn't stop there. The growth in Propel also involved me as a student, as an artist, and as a person. First and foremost, my level of confidence in my work and myself in general is unfathomably higher. Looking at myself now almost makes me feel like before Propel, my confidence didn't even exist. By that I mean that before, I thought I had given up on feeling good about myself while spending so much time doing things that my peers and friends never saw. I never go out. Those of you who know me personally will know that to be true. But it's because I would always rather be spending my time learning and expanding my digital skill set. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't as proud of it because teenage stigmas had always told me that I was supposed to be going out with friends and doing crazy, sometimes stupid things instead. Because of that, at the back of my head, I always thought of myself as somewhat of a loser, but I didn't have a problem with it. Yet the thought didn't exactly scream out confidence either. But while going through this program, people started to show unexpected interest in me and my strange nature, as well as my work. My peers made it evident that they genuinely appreciated my presence, opinions, and my work. Mr. Hanson and Mr. Patrician, he also expressed some real curiosity and interest in me too, even if it wasn't through direct words most of the time. My fellow propellers frequently showed their support for my music, my style of speech, and me in general, and that slowly changed me this semester. I was consistently exposed to the support, and now I feel comfortable as a person and as an artist. I'm ready to take on the new year with newly found confidence. This confidence was something traditional schooling could never help me achieve. It was too much of a disconnect. But Propel made me feel connected to my education, my peers, and my future. This new confidence will come in handy when solving problems in the future. Throughout the semester, I was faced with many problems and obstacles, including the ones I had mentioned earlier. And Propel has allowed me to use and refine my critical thinking to a completely new level. In the real world, challenges will surface that need to be solved with skills you would never use to solve 1 or even 20 hard questions on a written test. The type of thinking used in traditional school is completely different than the kind used in real life, but Propel has provided a platform where legitimate problem solving is necessary to succeed. In my case, I needed to find creative ways to brand, market, and distribute my album. I also needed to independently manage my project right from the get-go. To do that, I needed to create my own ideas, organize them, try them, and fix them when they didn't work. This process was repeated many times in many different situations, and it helped me gain poise as a critical thinker. It also helped me find effective ways to create solutions in varied situations without the need for frequent guidance. And that's definitely something I will need to do in the future. Being responsible for my own success in Propel has done more for me as a critical thinker than regular high school ever has, and it definitely will aid me both in and out of school next semester and beyond. One more thing Propel did successfully was to show me the true value of collaboration. As a heavy introvert with hidden ego, collaboration was something I often ignored. Other people didn't necessarily help me get through regular classes, and they certainly didn't help me with my work before. But in Propel, I've met some great kids who will openly seek opportunities to help out others, including myself. On top of that, they made me remember that you can find valuable input if you ask the right people, even if sometimes you may feel like they don't understand exactly what you're doing. For example, I got to work with Drew this semester. He's not here tonight, but I ran the Twitter account with him. Collaborating with him made it possible to end the Propel Twitter's days of being obsolete. Bouncing ideas with him really made the experience enjoyable and beneficial. Now the Twitter account has gained traction. When it comes to my project, Drew and others also frequently requested to listen to my music so they could show their support and make suggestions that proved to be valuable. Even if I never said it to anyone, everyone in the Propel environment shaped my project in some way and has had some sort of lasting effect on me. So I'd like to thank Propel and everyone involved for that. The help from my peers has motivated me to seek feedback and search for chances to collaborate outside of the classroom, something that I now know will greatly benefit my future, and something that I never thought I'd do before. I'd like to thank Mr. Patrician and Mr. Hansen for their dedication to this program, as well as everyone involved in making Propel happen, students included. After everything I've learned and all of the great experiences, it still really sucks to know I'll be returning to standard education. The feeling I have now looking forward reminds me of that day in the exchange. The same feeling of satisfying anxiety is here. And I'm looking ahead into 2017 filled with new opportunities and prosperity. The same way I'd been looking forward to a semester full of exploration and growth on that September afternoon. I didn't know what Propel was going to offer, and I don't know what 2017 has in store, but I was ready back then, and I'm ready now. Through Propel, I haven't only created album 0, I've created a better version of myself. With that being said, it's definitely time for me to seize the new year. Thank you.